Hello guys, and welcome back to Chris's Granite Paradise. Here we are on this beautiful early summer day, and I've got the polisher out. I've been telling you guys, mentioning it in videos here and there, that I do have the tools to do this polishing. You may remember earlier this spring, I think it was in March, when we went to Mexico and we climbed the Cerro de Jocotitlan. I don't know if you remember. If you haven't seen the video, I'm going to post it at the end. And the people we were with, we had an awesome time climbing that mountain on four-wheelers. It was a lot of fun, and the antennas at the top. But on the way up, Juan, nuestro hermano Juan, ya, ahora los muestro cómo lo sacas.
Adelante, ¿qué pasó?
No sale, pero sí es obsidiana.
Ahorita la... Sí, adelante, ¿qué pasó? ¿Te vas o te quedas? Ya, dale.
A ver.
Va para allá. Está muy clavado.
Sí está grande.
Sí. A ver, primero hay que sacar esta de acá. Esta, ahora sí.
Ahora sí ya. Ándale. Bonita obsidiana.
Sí.
Espero que estoy grabando. Gracias.
De nada. De nada.
Found this beautiful piece of obsidian, and I believe it's sheen obsidian, and today I want to polish it up for him. So I'm going to try to do kind of an intro video to my tools and then just polish this one rock, and that'll be plenty for a video today. All right, so let's start with what we're using. These may not even exist anymore. I probably bought this 20 years ago, and they were kind of going out of style at the time. This is the Flex Original, it says on it. So this is an electric polisher for the granite countertop business. That's what all the kitchens and baths that these sink cutouts came from were polished was with these. It's electric. It weighs about 13 pounds. The biggest problem we would have is we would be continuously electrocuted because you're running an electric tool that has water feed there in the middle. Let's see if I can turn that on for you. So here's the little lever. Sorry, I'm holding the phone in one hand. So there it has the water feed. So you can imagine, as you're polishing, of course, water's running everywhere, including into the little vents that exist on the machine for the water. And of course they come with the more recent versions of these came with a GFI, and to be honest with you, we would end up cutting these off after a while because the polishers would just keep going off because of the water. So as a result of those issues, most granite shops have gone to, other than the fact that they have CNC machines now, but for the hand polishing, they have pneumatic polishers, which weigh about 2 pounds, and you don't get electrocuted. So these have probably, mostly anyway, gone by the wayside. This still works. Maybe. Yep, she still fires up. Like I said, this has had a lot of use and abuse. Now the pads we use, so I have a hard backer. We call these hard backers. It's basically resin or plastic or something. And that's really good for flat surfaces, or you just don't want it to be flexible. And then I have a flexible backer. So you can press in on that, and it's just softer rubber. Then the pads we're using, now I'm kind of in trouble here because over the years we used 2 or 3 different suppliers for our pads. By the way, most of my tools, I have grinders and stuff, which I'll show you when the occasion presents itself for grinding. But I've bought my stuff from Grand Quartz. You can go to grandquartz.com, and if these exist, Grand Quartz will have them. But like I said, I'd be surprised if they even sell them anymore, because everybody's gone pneumatic. But I'm sure there's guys like me who polish out in their giant sculpture rock gardens for making YouTube videos. So for us, they need to keep selling these babies. And the pads, it works basically like sanding. You go from this we call a 50 grit. See, and this is from Vic. And so their 50 grit is this color. The colors are not universal. So this is also, I think this is also Vic, and it's 100 grit. And this is dangerous because if we buy, no, I might be mixed up. I think this is, I can hardly, oh no, this is Viper, I believe is what this brand was. And they're, well, what is it? It's the number 6, but it's like the highest polish is the same color as the other brand's 100 grit. So if you accidentally, I have to be careful that I don't grab the wrong one or I'll destroy my polish and have to start over. But anyway, it basically goes from coarse on down to fine. Depending on the brand you buy, the colors will be different. They may have standardized them more by now. And then they sell what are called buff pads. And this is basically a tin oxide in a resin. And I don't know that I'll use this today because I don't remember it working very well on obsidian. But black and white, depending if you're polishing a light colored granite or a dark. And like I said, we also have grinding tools. So this is a diamond cup wheel. And they're steel, so they're very aggressive. I'm not going to use it on the obsidian because I think it would cause microfractures that go way into the stone because of the metal on the rock. You know, it's just a lot of banging. So I'm going to only use pads, which will eat up my pad a little bit, but I don't want to ruin the rock. So we probably won't use the cup wheels. And there's fine, medium, and coarse cup wheels as well. This one's brand new. I think these are from Pearl, if I remember right. Yep, Pearl. Pearls, they're expensive. Back in the day, they were about $100, so I don't even want to imagine what they are now. But they're really good. If you guys are going to buy these kind of tools, do not waste your money on the cheap ones. Trust me. I don't think I need to explain why. It's like anything else. You get what you pay for. You can get these pads for like $10 each or something. And they have like, you know, because they're all diamonds. They're diamonds embedded in resin. And it'll be all resin and have one diamond in it. You know, so you won't be able to polish anything if you buy the cheap ones. You need to get the good ones. I think Pearl also sells pads. I don't remember toward the end who we were buying our, see, this is Direx. I have a mismatch because I bought some of these and some of them are old spent what, see, we would polish inside corners and they would invariably wear out the edges of the pad before the middle of the pad. So since now I'm polishing a rock that's all going to use the inside of the pad rather than the corners, these burnt out pads are good. See, because it still has teeth in the middle, but the edges are gone. And that's from doing inside corners of sinks and things of that nature. So those old spent pads, I would bring them home. And I have quite a few of them because they were no good at the granite shop anymore. And so, yeah. What else was I going to tell you about the pads? I think we're ready to fire this thing up, guys. I've set up my little table here. I can set my rock here. This way I'm not kneeling down or hunched over. This is a comfortable polishing height. You know, basically if you stick your hand straight out from your body, you want it a little below that. At least that's what works for me. And this little stand of crates is just for me to mount my phone on so I can film myself. Anyway, let me get set up and we'll do some magic. So here we are using the 50 grit pad. Of course, the water is adjustable, so you can put a lot or a little. I'm not going to put too much. After filming this, I went on the Grand Quartz website, and yes, there are various versions of these electric water-fed polishers that are still available, just in case you decide to go that route. So what I'm trying to do is basically this rounded side, I'm going to bring out a polish on it, and maybe this other side here. In the editing of this video, I noticed that the rotation of the disc is almost in sync with the frames that the camera is taking, and so it looks like it's barely spinning, but it's going 3,000 RPMs, just to give you an idea. Sorry if I'm yelling, I have earplugs in. Wow. Yeah, I think this is going to be a nice piece. So the pads basically go from 50 to 100, 200, 400, 800, 1500, and 3000. And I'm taking this up through the 3000. And the 50 and 100 always takes the longest, but let's try to speed this up a little bit or we're never going to get done. As you can see here, I'm just now taking off the 50 grit pad, which is the bright green one. And I will put on the 100 grit. Got to look close and make sure I'm grabbing the 100 grit. Don't want to grab the wrong one like I was telling you. One thing I would like to bring to your attention here is that when you're polishing the outer surface of a rounded rock, as in this instance, with each successive pad, you want to go a little bit further than you did with the pad before. Let's exaggerate it a little bit and let's say that, so with the 50 grit, you're only polishing flat. And with the 100 grit, you're going to round around the edges just a little bit. With the 200, you're going to round around a little more, so that you don't end up with a dull haze around the outer edge. And you'll see with each successive pad, you'll notice I'm moving the rock quite a bit more, and it's for this reason. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to have some sheen to it. Juan, te vas a emocionar mucho, mi querido hermano Juan. Nuevamente, gracias por esta piedra, pero te la voy a regalar para tu colección. You guys can see it's got the sheen, depending on how you turn it. I hope I'm catching that in the video because it's kind of hard to see. I'm standing in the sun. But as I turn it, I see it changing, so that's a good sign because we're only at the 100 grit, so it's going to get a lot more attractive as we go. I do want to mention to you guys, remember this polisher is meant to polish long countertop runs. So you would normally hold it like this and walk back and forth along the piece, you know. But here, since I'm using it for a little rock, it's kind of awkward. I have to hold it with one hand and then just with the other hand, without polishing my hand, try to maneuver the rock around. Well, let's keep going. I think I need a little more with the 100 grit, and then we'll go to the 200. See, now this one is Direx. It's another brand. I have quite the mixture. Now we're doing the 200 grit. I see my filming came out a little overexposed and too bright, so we're going to skip ahead here, I believe up to the 400 grit, which is the next pad. It's just more of the same. One thing I want to point out is, since this is a rounded surface, or maybe we could call it domed, you want to make sure you don't ever hit it with the edge of your pad, because you'll cut a scar in there, and then you have to polish that all down. So it's very important that you use the flat part of the pad only and not the edges on these rounder pieces. So I was saying you don't want to ever hit it with the edge of your pad. And then once I get to the 400, I've done this with the 400 for quite a while now. Now I'm going to do it with the soft backer. I'm going to switch this hard backer for the soft one and hit it again with the 400. So after the 400 grit, I like to dry it off, because at the 400 you can see if there's any big scratches left. Because whatever you don't get out with the 400 isn't going to come out. See, like I see a little divot here. That's what the shirt is for, as long as your rock is clean. All right, so the divot I'm feeling is actually a dip in the stone. You can see that that's the rough surface of the obsidian, the conchoidal fracture. I might just leave that, because that kind of gives it some character. I'm not sure if I'm seeing any scratches. I think it looks like I got it pretty good. But yeah, this is definitely nice. I don't know, what do you call it? Silver sheen obsidian, maybe? All right, let's keep going. One thing I learned in the granite business is there's only one way to get done, and that's just to keep polishing. All right, I do see one little divot there. I'm going to hit it a little more with the 400. This should be, the lettering's all wore off, but this should be the 800 grit of one of the brands. Obviously, when I was professionally polishing, I had one set of pads that I was using at any one time, and they were organized and in order. I hope that shows. That is absolutely amazing. Now this is the Viper number 6, which is the same color as the Vic, I believe it was, what we would call the number 1, which would basically send us all the way back to the beginning. So you really got to be careful when you have mixed sets of pads. As a point of reference, the number 6 is about a 3000 grit, if I remember correctly. And then after that, we would normally follow up with a buff pad. You may be familiar with tumbling grit, where the last polishing phase is like a tin oxide or a titanium oxide. That is what these buff pads are made of, except they're in a resin. That, my friends, is some nice sheen. Maybe I would call it silver obsidian, silver sheen, something like that. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm going to shut this down as far as the polishing goes. I don't think I'm going to buff it with what I call the buff pad, because those tend to burn things. Oh, I was zoomed in that whole time. Anyway, I guess now we're getting the real view. So I will show this to you after I get it all cleaned up. Those of you who saw the recent videos on the quarry site location, there's a clip in there of Grant carrying his big rock, and I think this is the rock. This was in 2013 that I filmed this, and I'm kind of giving Grant some tips on how to polish with these kind of tools. And you'll see what he did, and this is a good recommendation for a bigger rock. He has a table that can kind of clamp on the rock so that the rock is held in place, and then you're just holding the polisher. Because obviously a rock that size, you're not going to want to be pivoting it in your hand. So that's another option if you guys have a bigger rock. All right, here she is all cleaned up, ready for Juan. I'll take this to Mexico, to mi hermano Juan, when we go, probably early next year. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this, to watch the video this far, you obviously enjoy the content. I ask that you please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and by all means leave comments, especially if you know how I might get this a little shinier. I only took it up to what would be called a 1500 grit, which is still far from buffed, but I'm afraid if I go much further I'm going to burn it with my granite countertop tools, because remember my pads are all designed specifically for granite and not really for materials such as this. Again, look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. God bless you as always.